following up on the breakthrough success of the first Knights of the Old Republic, there was naturally a very high demand for a sequel, and a sequel we received. But this time, things would be a little different. This time, the developer of this game wouldn't be BioWare, but instead Obsidian Entertainment. The reason for this was BioWare had decided to forego developing this sequel and instead decided to work on their own project. That project being Jade Empire, a game that I reviewed a couple years ago, and you should totally watch that video after you watch this one. Now, despite this game being developed by a different company, it still has garnered very high critical praise, and like its predecessor, has been considered to be one of the greatest Star Wars titles of all time. But if you're watching this video, then you probably want to know my opinion. So let's take a trip back to a galaxy far, far away and take a look at this thing. This game begins 4 years after the events of the first title. The Ebon Hawk is floating through space, badly damaged, and the majority of the crew is dead or soon to be dead. The droid from the first game, T3M4, manages to repair the ship and dock it at a mysteriously abandoned mining station orbiting the planet Paragus 2. This is where you come in. As you awaken, you notice things are a bit strange. Firstly, despite being on the Ebon Hawk, you are a different character than you were in the first game. No, I'm not saying his name. Secondly, you find yourself captured and contained in a medical bay with no one around. Once you release yourself and attempt to escape, you run into an old woman who had initially appeared dead. This woman is Kreia. Kreia, as you discover, is a Force user, and after some small talk, she agrees to help you escape as she plans on doing the same. After some exploration, you run into another fine gentleman also being detained. This man is named Atton Rand. After freeing him, Atton tells you of a very high bounty put on the head of an individual who is said to be the last of the Jedi. In fact, this individual is also said to be on the station, and was being detained for their own safety against bounty hunters. In fact, this supposed Jedi is you. After fighting your way through the station and even eluding a Sith Lord, you finally manage to get to the Ebon Hawk and escape. Now it's time for some exposition. Back when Revan and Malak went against the will of the Jedi Council and went to war against the Mandalorians, your character decided to join them. In fact, you managed to attain the rank of general and were an extremely valuable asset to the war effort. However, once the war was over, it became clear that Revan and Malak were corrupted by the dark side. You no longer followed them, and even worked up the courage to face your judgment at the hands of the Jedi Council. Now, due to the nature of this game, you may either have tried to defend your actions or simply face their judgment quietly, but either way, they revoked your status as a Jedi, took your lightsaber, and effectively sent you into exile. After the wars and the conquest of Revan and Malak across the galaxy, the majority of the Jedi have either turned to the dark side, died, or gone into hiding, no longer using their powers. In an attempt to gain control of the galaxy, two Sith Lords are planning on destroying you, as they, like the bounty hunters, feel that you are the last of the Jedi. These Sith Lords are Darth Sion and Darth Nihilus. Darth Sion is essentially a zombie. Across many years, he has fought and fallen in combat many times, but due to the nature of the dark side running through him, he manages to focus his pain, hatred, and anger into energy that allows him to revive no matter how many times he dies. Darth Nihilus was human at one point. Now it's kinda hard to say what he is. His power allows him to feed off any and all life that he comes in contact with. This power is so extreme that he has even managed to destroy entire worlds, consuming its populace for his own gain. This hunger is so severe that it has even consumed most of his physical being, and no matter how many lives he takes, he always hungers for more. So, just how exactly are you supposed to overthrow two dangerously powerful Sith Lords, along with evading bounty hunters, not to mention anyone and anything else that just so happened to want you dead? Well, unbeknownst to the Sith, the members of the Jedi Council that cast you out of the Order are still alive and kicking. The only issue for you is finding them, and even when you do find them, you may not be in a very understanding or forgiving mood. But in order to track these Jedi down, Like most RPGs, you can get by with a little help from your friends. Along with Aten, Kreia, and T3, you will obtain a Zabarak engineer who served under you during the war, a disciple of the Jedi Order, which could be two different characters depending on your character's gender, a Master Bounty Hunter, or her Wookiee rival depending on your alignment, the current leader of the Mandalorians, known as Mandalore, Darth Nihilus' apprentice who defects to your side, a droid controlled by a crime lord, and of course, the return of everyone's favorite meatbag-hating assassin droid, HK-47. So with this full house of varying personalities, races, and beliefs, it's up to you to stop the Sith Lords from resuming their reign of terror across the galaxy. Or just take their place, the choice is yours, really. The gameplay in this title at a base level is, well, almost exactly the same as its predecessor. Combat is still turn-based, and the general navigation and interaction with your party members is all the same. Although this time around there are some newly added powers and feats, such as the use of Bastil's battle meditation power from the first game, along with a new feat system which allows for more proficiency while using blasters. Along with just new feats and powers, you will also be able to attain more diverse forms of blasters, swords, staffs, and even lightsaber crystals. Then there's the matter of chemistry. This time around, you can find chemicals to use at certain stations to create explosives, medical supplies, and stimulants, or break these items down to create more chemicals. The efficiency and power of these creations varies depending on your skills in healing and explosives. Now, that brings up another interesting point. True to Obsidian's MO, you may use your skills, be it computer use, repair, persuade, or even awareness, to greatly expand upon the dialogue sequences. Speaking of dialogue, let's move on to party interaction. Like the first game, you can converse with your companions to get a better understanding of their backstory and overall character, but this time there is the matter of influence. By performing certain actions, or just having conversations with your party, you may either gain or lose your influence with the members. Gaining influence allows your team members to open up about their past and possibly allow for some more quest lines, not to mention changing their alignment closer to your own. But what's even better is that if you manage to influence certain members enough, you can train them in the ways of the Force, making your team that much stronger. This campaign overall should take you roughly 30 hours, of course varying for the amount of side quests done. Now for the reviewing. The graphics in this title had taken a bit of an upward turn as opposed to the first game. It is run on the same engine, but the character models are a bit more smoothed out, not to mention they do have a larger range of facial expressions. As for the environments, well, two of these worlds are basically the same as they were in the first game, those being the ruins of the Sith Academy on Korriban and the Jedi Academy on Dantooine. As for the other planets, you get to see the densely populated moon of Nar Shaddaa, the restoration of the planet of Telos, the forest moon of Duxon, and the royal planet of Onderon. Despite some of the environments being almost the same as the first game, they are all fairly well detailed and do very well convey the feeling of life, or death sometimes, about them. As for the gameplay, this is where the game really shines. Now, like I said, the combat system is very much the same as it was in the first game, however you can now make the combat flow more to your liking. Along with setting both you and your NPC's fighting styles when you aren't directly using them, you can now learn up to 7 different lightsaber stances, all of which have varying strengths and weaknesses. These stances can be switched to at any time during combat for maximum efficiency in battles. Now, let's get on to the best part of this game, hands down, the story. While the first Knights of the Old Republic touched upon the theory that neither the Sith nor the Jedi were necessarily the right path to take for Force users, this story revolves around it. Now, your personal thoughts on this matter may be portrayed through whichever dialogue you choose, but this storyline and the majority of the conversations with your companions shows some of the best writing I've ever seen in a video game. Allow me to demonstrate a typical conversation between my character and a Jedi. You shouldn't have run off to war with Revan against the Mandalorians against the Council. But if I didn't join them, the Mandalorians would have destroyed the Republic and countless more innocents would die. But due to your rash actions in helping them, Revan managed to create an army of the Sith. But I couldn't have possibly known that would have happened, and neither could you. But if you would have just waited, this never would have happened. But if I had waited, who knows what would have happened? See what I mean? The philosophical debates in this game are masterfully written and may really leave you conflicted about what is the right thing to do. Or of course you could just go full Sith and shoot lightning at everyone in your path, that always works too. So, in conclusion, how does this sequel hold up? Well, compared to the original, the combat is better, and the interaction with characters holds much more depth, but the storyline overall, I'd have to call it even. But how does this game hold up on its own? Well, let's put it this way. If you enjoy RPGs and enjoy Star Wars titles, playing this game, along with the first one, is a must. Now, like I've said before, playing this title on the 360 with the backwards compatibility patch does still have its issues. This was fun. So, if you want to check this out, I'd actually recommend playing the newest version of this game on Steam. The graphics are updated, and the majority of the bugs are smoothed out. So, if you're interested, this game can be found for $10 on Steam, or around $15 for an Xbox version. So until next time, this is E-Dog, may the Force be with you.